Okay, so now we have the third section, which is all about ways that people can work to create more supportive climates and hopefully reduce defensiveness. So, this is work that is, these are ideas based off of the work that Jack Gibb did in the 1960s, believe it or not. Actually, the late 50s and into the 60s. He was a pioneer in humanistic psychology, and his main focus was organizational development. He worked with organizations, factories, insurance companies, churches, schools, government, and his idea was, and I mean, no big surprise, there needs to be trust for teams to function effectively. So what he did was he came up with 6 kinds of behaviors that will cause people to feel more defensive, and then he came up with the accompanying behavior that would cause people to feel more supported. Okay, so the first one, evaluation versus description, which is basically, evaluation is judgment. You are selfish, right? You don't care about me in some way that you are judging someone. And description, if we go back to the perception checking, remember where I said you always start with a description of the situation? Thank Jack Gibb for that. You want to focus on how you as the speaker are feeling or what you are seeing, okay? So instead of me saying you're selfish, I might say something like, you ate the last cookie and I feel hurt because I was saving it for myself. Okay, so you can see how the first one, where I'm being judgmental, it's going to make you defensive. It's going to make someone else, whoever I'm speaking to, defensive. But if I say, I'm really hurt because you ate the last cookie and I was saving it for my reward when I finished recording this lecture, the person might still feel defensive, but probably less defensive. The next pair is control versus problem orientation. And basically, control is where someone imposes a solution. And problem orientation, where you work together to find a solution. Control is a big one with many parents, with a lot of teachers and professors, with, I think, also a lot of people in the medical profession. So what I found when my son was going through his difficult adolescence, and I would say, you know, it was his turn to do the dishes, and I would say, you need to turn off the TV and do the dishes. He would get all, you know, you're not the boss of me kind of thing. But if I said, I need some help, can we tackle the kitchen together? Oh, sure. Okay, so does it always work? No, but if you present it as, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but can the two of us work together to figure out what needs to be done, you have more of a chance of having a good outcome and a more supportive climate. The next, the next two pairs that we're looking at are strategy versus spontaneity. And strategy is manipulation, and spontaneity is honesty. So I say, a friend says to me, hey, do you like tulips? And I'm like, yes, I do. And he says, good, come over to this weekend and help me divide them. What? You know what? So if it had started with, hey, I have a lot of tulips. If you come over this weekend and help me divide them, then I can, and then I'll give you half of them. So I don't know why he called it spontaneity, because I don't think of honesty and spontaneity as being the same. It's important to realize that strategy, which we see as manipulation, that the honesty works well in places like the United States, which are low context, but a culture that is more high context, people tend to be a little less direct, a little less honest. Okay, The next two, I think neutrality has a bad name because neutrality is really indifference. And empathy, we know empathy because we read about it in chapter 8. So um, many years ago, we had no money, and we had splurged and bought some expensive steaks, and my husband was grilling them and not paying attention, and he burnt them to a crisp. And I could say, well, what do you expect when you don't pay attention? That's neutrality versus, I know how disappointed you are because you burnt the steaks. Actually, my husband says, I levitated. I was so angry. You burnt the Delmonico steaks. No empathy at that point. So the last pairings are superiority versus equality and certainty versus provisionalism. So superiority is, I'm better than you. You're patronizing to the person. And equality is, we're both worthy of respect. So this would be something like, well, that's a stupid way to do that, as opposed to, this is a challenging situation. Can I tell you how I did it when I had that situation? They show a picture here, and I have not seen the show. It's a British TV show where the man is a doctor. It's called Doc Martin. It's kind of funny. And he is very much like House, where he just comes out and just tells people the situation. So he's doing some superiority, some neutrality, probably a lot of control also. And his girlfriend there is, or excuse me, his romantic partner has more empathy and is better at creating supportive climates. The last one, I think, is the one that drives me the craziest: the certainty versus provisionalism. Certainty, someone is being dogmatic. Their belief is there is only one way to do things. It sounds a lot like control, but control says I'm going to impose a solution on you. Certainty says there is only one solution. I had a colleague who used to do this to me. I mean, I felt she was doing it to me. That was her just her way of doing things. Provisionalism means you're being open-minded. You realize that there are many viewpoints, and you might feel strongly about yours, but you are willing to. You realize that there are actually other ways to look at an issue. So it could be something like, you are wrong versus, when you said that, I don't know, this happened, you were wrong versus, well, I did not know that. I've never heard about this. Tell me more. You're not saying you believe the person, but what you are doing is you are leaving the situation open so that they can at the very least feel heard. So when you think about it, if you go back and look at these, the first one in each of these pairings is a kind of communication that is most likely going to arouse defensive behavior in the part of the person who hears you say this. The other side, the second of the pair, is kind of communication behavior that is more likely to promote a supportive climate. Are there any guarantees that this is going to work? Of course not. But what have you got to lose by trying these? So if you think about the person, remember from the beginning, where you had the better communication climate and the not so great communication climate, do you see in these climates that you and the other person are using any of these pairs? And I get it that these are a little bit challenging to understand, and some of them don't seem to be all that different, but at least you can get the overall understanding that some of them make people feel pretty bad, and others can help people feel a little bit more valued and acknowledged. Okay, this is the end of this section, so I will now get ready for the next one.